Hey, what's good, my fellow peasants? How are you all doing? We have so much news to cover, and I want to do this as an update so I can leave you all off. It's the 23rd of December, 2 days until Christmas. So for all of you guys, have a great holiday. I hope you have a good one. This might be the last one I do before Christmas, and there is so much to cover. So the main thing I want to talk about is Final Fantasy 15 sales. We have so much more to go on, so much information to break down, and this is really good to know. If you want to know what this means for Final Fantasy going forward, I think it means a hell of a lot. How it is for console gaming in Japan, how everything is shifting, but I'll get onto that later. The main thing I want to talk about is the 30th anniversary. So I covered the rumour of it, what will be coming in 2017 according to this rumour. Some of it I didn't believe, some of it I do believe. I think a lot of the things with the porting. I'll leave a link in the description to that video. There were things like the 13 trilogy getting ported, FF1 to 9 on a single disc. There was loads of other, and I think it'd be crazy for Square Enix not to do a lot of porting in 2017, especially as there are so many Final Fantasy 15 fans who have never played any other Final Fantasy, and they're looking to. I think I was live streaming just yesterday, and I was asking for people's age. A lot of them were saying 16, 17, 18, and yes, this is my first Final Fantasy. I'm loving it, and I want to play others. So getting things like the 13 trilogy, the 10 and 10-2 remaster re-released, as well as FF1 to 9 disc, it'd be really wise for Square Enix to do that. Not to mention FF12 Zodiac Age. So yeah, going on specifically now, we do have a date for the anniversary. It's January the 31st. They're going to be talking about everything coming in 2017. I think there's 2 sessions split between an audience of 200 people, so only 200 people can go. But what do I think they're going to talk about? So this article, of course, it shows FF7 Remake as a picture. I think, yes, there is going to be FF7 Remake news. A quote from Kitase. He said he wanted to show us some new stuff on FF7 in December, so now, and he specifically said he wanted to show us how the combat system works. So I think it's very likely that we're going to get some FF7 Remake news. Be hyped as hell for that. Please be excited. But before I move on to anything else, I want to talk about that. I wanted to cover this. There is a new director for FF7 Remake. Now, I can't pronounce this. Kiyohei Suzuki. I'm so bad with names. I'm just going to say Suzuki. So he is a new director who's going to be working on FF7 Remake. Now, a lot of people have taken that as the only director. That's not true. Nomura is still going to be working on FF7 Remake. Of course, he's really busy with Dissidia. There will still be Kitase, but I didn't even know this guy Suzuki, and I don't know how to feel. I broke down in a previous video about the different divisions, Division 1, Division 2. Division 1 is with Kitase, Division 2 is with Tabata, and I said that who could be doing the next big Final Fantasy title? I said that Division 1 seems too busy right now because of the FF7 Remake. But the thing is, Suzuki, he comes from Division 4. Now, Division 4, they do a lot of the mobile games, a lot of the 3DS games. Suzuki, especially, he's done things like Kingdom Hearts 358/2 days. Again, I've not played KH games, and I'm going to be live streaming them on this channel in March. Look forward to that. Kingdom Hearts Recode. Now, those 2 games got decent scores. Fairly decent scores. Recode, not so much. Dissidia Final Fantasy, of course, that was a huge success. Dissidia on the PSP, incredible games. But then to offset that, he was also the director for Final Fantasy All the Bravest, which, that is, I think it's the worst Final Fantasy game ever made. If we look at the scores for it, 2 out of 10s, 3 out of 10s. Final Fantasy All the Bravest was not a good game. So how do I feel about Suzuki coming aboard with FF7 Remake? I really don't know. I'm going to stay reserved. He's not really done any main titles away from sort of the more handheld platforms, but who knows, perhaps Suzuki is a major FF7 fan, perhaps he knows the essence and the core of FF7, and he has a really great vision for it. So yeah, let's give the guy a chance is what I'm saying. What else could be there? I think FF12 Zodiac Age, there's probably going to be a bit more on that as that's coming in 2017. Maybe some more mobile game news. Of course, whatever the latest 30th anniversary bundle is, because there will be one, and I hope it's big. and glorious and beautiful and not too expensive. The one that I did from the rumour, I estimated that would cost almost $800 / £650. Holy shit, come on, not even I, a major Final Fantasy fan, would be a bit apprehensive on spending that kind of money. I'd still do it. I'd still do it, but you know what I'm saying, guys. The main thing I'm looking forward to, and I'm holding my breath in anticipation, besides just the remake stuff, is Dissidia. Come on, Square Enix, announce it. It is now time. This would be the perfect time to do it, Square. Listen to me. You've had it in the arcades for over a year. You greedy motherfuckers. They've had it since November 2015. It is way past due that they release this, and it has to come to the West. Again, there's no confirmation that it ever will, but the fact that this is such a tidy MOBA, the mechanics are clean, everything to do with this game is just X. I've been watching so many videos. I honestly think if they do this right, if they release Dissidia based on how much of a success it was on the PSP, how many fans here in the West want it, this could be your biggest cash cow, Square Enix. I keep saying it. This could be your next biggest earner from Final Fantasy XIV. And it would be perfect for them to do it now, because if they announce it at this 30th anniversary event and it comes in, say, mid-2017, upon the release, they can also do a Final Fantasy XV pack. They can finally announce Noctis as a character in Dissidia, which is 152.356% guaranteed to happen. They will do it, especially now. I've pulled this up because they've actually now got Noctis on Brave Exvius, so he's a character over there. So he's free game now. They're using him in other games. Do it around the time that we're going to get it here in the West. That'll get people so hyped. That will make that thing sell like hotcakes. Put an FF15 map in. It could be Insomnia. It could be Niflheim, wherever you want. Oh, just do it, Square Enix. Just do it. I think that would categorically be the smartest thing for them to do at this anniversary event. Besides, the other thing is announce this for the West and then propel it with a FF15 pack, a DLC, Noctis' character reveal, and a map, because Final Fantasy XV is doing excellent here in the West, and that's no surprise. FF15 has so many Western RPG elements. It has the open world, it has all of the typical things we're used to, like car customizations and guns and fishing and dungeons and all of the kind of things that really do attract and appeal to Western gamers. And that leads me cleanly into talking about the sales. So I covered the sales video, the 5 million in 24 hours, and how that was causing a debate on how much of that was just shipped versus sold. People saying that 5 million isn't indicative of its success. Guys, it really is. At the time I showed you this page, if you remember, this page was fastest selling video game products ever, and if we go to the PS4 section, before about 2 weeks ago, that was populated by Uncharted 4. It is now populated by FF15. And Uncharted 4, it had sold 2.7 million in 2 weeks. Now Final Fantasy XV is in its place at 5 million on its first day. So not only has it beaten its previous title holder, Uncharted 4, at 2.7, it smashed it. It's absolutely obliterated it. And the thing is with that Uncharted 4 number is the 2.7 million, even that was based on just units shipped, not units sold. So regardless of how much has actually sold from the retailers, Final Fantasy XV has beaten it regardless. But it's time to get into the nitty-gritties now. So we have all of the Nova Crystallis reports for the first, second and third week, and these are interesting numbers, and this shows a lot about what is happening in Japan. So first of all of these sales are only based on physical units sold in Japan. Now, considering that Japan has a very weak console game, even Tabata admits it, these sales figures kind of prove it, and historically it is looking like the console game in Japan is really dead right now. The culture is really becoming a culture of mobile gaming, what with the commuting and the long travel times. So this is no surprise that this is happening. So just going into it now, Final Fantasy XV sold 694,262 physical units across the PS4 and Xbox One. Now some people look at that and they despair. They say only 700,000 in a week. That's not great, and it seems that way, but it is, guys, because although Final Fantasy XIII sold 1.5 million physical units in the same kind of time frame, the shift is from physical units to digital downloads. You can't overlook that Final Fantasy XV broke digital download records. So it smashed them. It sold more on digital than historically ever across all of Asia and Japan. historical records. So this is proof that the physical sales are lower than ever, but more people than ever are doing the digital downloads. I think that's definitely true with FF15. And that makes perfect sense when we look at all of the DLCs. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's so many of them. All the DLC bonuses, if you got it from Amazon Prime, you'd get this. If you got it from GameStop, you'd get this. One of the best bundles and the most worthwhile ones was the digital download edition. That was the one that got you the season pass. That was the one that got you the best weapons. In my opinion, the best Regalia skins. So yeah, it's only logical that more people were buying it digitally than they were physically. So combining all those factors, yeah, people in Japan, I really wish it wasn't just Japan. It's such a narrow region just to look at all. Yeah, people are downloading digital versions more than ever. So that is why these sales are really not indicative. When they don't show the digital sales, which is where Final Fantasy 15 sold the most, yeah, it's not great. But now getting on to the other part of the argument. So people were saying that with all the physical units, many of them could be shelf warming. Just because they've shipped, it doesn't mean it's sold. Goodbye, Lightning. Just because it's shipped, it doesn't mean it's sold. They could be shelf warming. A sale isn't a sale, even though that's bullshit. A sale to a retailer is a sale to Square Enix. We can actually now break that down as well. So around the time that Nova Crystallis then gave us the second week sales, in which it sold another 80,000 physical units, which was an 88% drop over the previous week. So that is a steep drop off on physical sales. I think the third week was then at around about 45,000, according to this, from 12th of December through to December the 18th. The main point is we now have this number, 64.63%. That is the number of units that sold that Square Enix had shipped. So 45% of what they shipped hadn't sold after the first week. Now, if we base it on week 2 and week 3, that number is down to around about 35%, which that is to be expected. Of course, when they ship it out, they don't just ship what they want to sell in the first week. So Square Enix actually did anticipate selling far less physical copies than they did with, say, FF13. They knew this would happen. They anticipated it. They knew that people would be downloading this digitally more. But if we just go back and we just pretend this is still week 1, let's say it is still at 45%, that means that only 300,000 of the physical copies are still sat on the retailer shelf. So 300,000 in the Japanese region, which is of course where Japan was where FF15 saw a lot of sales. Now, we don't have it for the West, so even if we were to bump 300,000 up to 600,000 if we include the West, even if we were to be crazy and bump it up to 1 million physical units still sat on the shelf, which, I mean, that's ridiculous. But even if we did, that still means that 4 million sold in the first week. Even if we go with that hyper exaggerated version, it still meets this, it still earns this title, fastest selling video game for the first week on PS4. The other wildcard factor that people were saying, Peasant, you haven't considered this, the Xbox. All of your figures that you're doing it on is based on the PS4. The Xbox could make up a huge chunk of the 5 million 24 hours. And I was saying, no, it wasn't. We were disagreeing on this video. A lot of Xbox fans were coming over and saying, Xbox is a great console. It's going to sell loads of it's going to get loads of Final Fantasy 15 sales. I was saying, isn't going to get dick. Isn't going to get dick, and I got a lot of backlash for saying that. But now I can see if I and a lot of other peasants who were saying the same thing as me. Let's see if we were right, because we just knew that the 5 million wasn't going to be at all affected by Xbox. I mean, it was going to be so insignificant, the number of Xbox sales, that considering that as a wildcard factor was just pointless. I knew it would be, but we now have the number. Just in third week, Japan sales again, 814,603 copies sold on the PS4, and on the Xbox, here we go, you ready for it? 3,791.
¡Ay, que se ahora! ¡Con los dos sacos largos! ¡Ay, llama para Sevilla! ¡Llama a Sevilla que traigo
Yeah. So there it is. I think that I even had about 10 people saying that they think that Xbox is going to sell about 40% of FF15's numbers, which was just ludicrous. Lots of people were saying that they thought it would sell at least 15%. Based on these numbers, it looks like it has barely even sold 1%. And that's really supported by this article here. So PS4 sales after FF15 launches were up 227%. Oh, good googly moogly. That's crazy, guys. 227%. And this is the thing. All of this really just goes to enforce what I've been saying and what Tabata's been saying. I think there's even an article here from Tabata. He talks about the sales, about the worldwide release, and even he says in this article that console gaming in Japan is so weak at the moment. The Japanese just aren't buying PS4s, and that's why when Final Fantasy 15 came out, a game that a lot of Japanese players have of course been looking for, that's why the PS4 console spiked. A 227% spike isn't just because people are buying the limited edition PS4 one. Talked about console gaming dying in Japan and how that Final Fantasy 15 was going to be the thing that decided. This thing, even the director himself said, Final Fantasy 15 will decide the future of gaming in Japan. Now that might be pretty hyper exaggerated, that this one game could decide the future of console gaming for all of Japan. But when we look at the sales and we look at the figures, it actually looks like that held a lot truer than it seemed. And the thing is, it's going to get even better from here on out. There are going to be millions of Japanese players who are going to want to play the FF7 Remake. So those sales are going to spike even more. So really, between Final Fantasy 15 and the FF7 Remake, Final Fantasy could actually be the franchise that saves console gaming in Japan, and for a lot of Japanese developers. And the thing is, Tabata, he even goes to say here, they didn't know whether it would work or not. They didn't know whether, because people didn't have PS4s in their home in Japan, the Final Fantasy 15 wouldn't completely flop in Japan. Seems like it hasn't. But that goes a lot to show as to why there's so many Western RPG elements in FF15. He says it right here, quote, "The overwhelming majority of sales is overseas. It is expected since the hardware installed base is bigger overseas than it is here in Japan. The numbers in Japan are quite good considering the present situation of the Japanese gaming market." So that's him saying how bad it is. It's now quite good. But they knew that their biggest selling base would be here in the West. And he even says here, that's why they didn't know. So that's why they tried to make this appeal to the West. That's why they launched this on a simultaneous worldwide release, which was quite a surprise that they did that. That's also why they added all these elements. He even says this is why it was. He also says how he knows that here in the West we like our quest, we like our exploration, we like going off the beaten track, we like all our things like customizations, even though I'm not too keen on it, but I know a lot of people are, so that's great. But also the interesting thing is Let's Plays. He also said that Let's Plays here in the West is a much bigger culture. He also says that's why they did a lot of events here in the West, in London, in France, in Germany. I mean, they really did have a strong West game, probably stronger than any other Final Fantasy game. So they knew Square Enix are taking more heed of us here in the West and actually treating us like the customers we are, more so than ever in this franchise, more so than in history, to be honest. And they even goes on to say that's why there's a DLC game. That's why there's going to be so many more cutscenes added after the fact. There's going to be expansions. There's going to be things with Noctis, GLaDOS, and Prompto. The likelihood that there's even going to be Dark World content and other bits like that is so likely now, because Tabata even says he knows that here in the West, there's in Japan, there is a strong belief. I bought this game and now it's over concept. However, Western open world games are very different to here in Japan. For instance, Grand Theft Auto 5, Witcher 3, they're kept active as long as the players are satisfied, and there are many updates even after release. So the story doesn't just end when the credits roll. I said that I could see Final Fantasy 15 having DLC for up to a year, even up to 2 years. So the story really isn't over. And that's especially true with FF15. There was so much that they couldn't get out in time, in 3 years, that they still have so much content for, that now the pressure's off. Now that the fact they've released it, the pressure is off, they can work on it. And Tabata even says it himself. He says he wants to convey the idea that if you connect your console to the internet, you will be able to enjoy this game more. The initial sales is not the end, and the enjoyment of the game is steadily going to grow over time. What? So it's not over, guys. It's not over yet. We if they get this story right, adding the dark world, the dark gritty scene, Luna's backstory, Ravus' backstory, things with Caligo and everything like that, this is what could push Final Fantasy 15 from the 8.5 out of 10, because it wasn't a masterpiece in my eyes. It wasn't a masterpiece. It should have been a masterpiece, but expecting the game to be a masterpiece in 3 years, that was really unfair, realistically. But if they get this, this is what could push that game up to a masterpiece. So I hope that's helped. I hope that's really helped to explain the bigger picture here, because people look at a lot of things in isolation, like this article in which they see just physical copies in Japan selling less than Final Fantasy 13. People look at those things, but when you don't look at the bigger picture, you don't look at that digital download records are far higher than FF13 ever was, and any ever game historically. The picture is much bigger, and the thing is, even if we go on to some other little facts for you, there's only 3.75 million PS4s in Japan, and based on these figures, in only 1 week, 1 out of every 5 Japanese PS4 owner has bought Final Fantasy 15. That's incredible. It's an exciting time, and with Square Enix looking towards the West even more, that's what adds, going back to the start of my video, that's what adds even more weight that at this 30th anniversary event, or sometime in 2017, we could get that Dissidia announcement. Now that they know this, now that the West is a real big factor, there is no way in hell they're not going to release this to the West. It's happening. Please be excited. Noctis will be a character. It'll be super dope. Who is looking forward to Dissidia? Let me know. Are you looking forward to hearing some more FF7 Remake news? What kind of bundle do you think? We'll tune in. We'll probably live stream it. We'll watch this 30th anniversary event together. And if anyone tries to tell you that Final Fantasy 15 isn't doing really well, just refer the motherfuckers over to this video, because we got some facts, people. We got facts, we got facts, we got figures. Have a good Christmas, guys. Until the next video. Come on!
2 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. I like good pussy and I like good trees. Smoke so much weed you wouldn't believe, and I get more ass than a toilet seat. 3 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. I met a bad bitch last night on the deep. Let me tell you how I made her leave with me. Conversation and NC. I've been to the motherfucking mountaintop. Heard motherfuckers talk, seen them drop. If I ain't got a weapon, I'ma pick up a rock. And when I bust your ass, I'm gonna take you to rock. Get your ass on the wall with your 2 left feet. It's real easy, just follow the beat. Don't let that fire go